Now, continuing with our discussion of graphs, one of the most important features of the graph are what we call the intercepts. The X-intercepts are the places where the graph crosses the x-axis, hence the word X-intercepts. Y-intercepts are where the graph crosses the y-axis. Okay? All right, now that's all fine and dandy, but how do we actually find them? Because that's what we're mostly concerned about. If you think about it, when a graph crosses the y-axis, every point on the y-axis has something in common. Namely, they all have an x-coordinate of 0. So to find y-intercepts, we're going to plug in x equals 0. Similarly, x-intercepts, our points on the x-axis, all have something in common. They all have a y-coordinate of 0. So to find them, we're going to plug in y equals 0. Notice, to find x-intercepts, we plug in a y. To find y-intercepts, we plug in an x. Don't let that confuse you about which one's which. So, we have two different examples here, and I want the intercepts of both. So, to find the y-intercepts of this, there may be more than one, there may be one, there may be none. I'm going to plug in x equals 0. So I get 3y equals 18, or y equals 6. This gives me a single y-intercept of 0, 6, because the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate of the point. To find any x-intercepts, I'm going to plug in y equals 0. This gives me 2x equals 18, or x equals 9. So I get a single x-intercept, the point 9, 0. This example is a little bit more complicated because of that little squared term, but the procedure is the same. To find any y-intercepts, I plug in x equals 0. Okay, and I have to solve for y. So in this case, I get y squared is 7, or y equals plus or minus the square root of 7. So I must have two y-intercepts. They both will have x equals 0 as their coordinate. One has a y-coordinate of square root of 7. One has a y-coordinate of minus the square root of 7. To find any x-intercepts, I'm going to plug in y equals 0. And I just get x equals 7. So my point is 7, 0 for my x-intercept.